The sky turned dark at exactly 3 in the afternoon. People across the world looked up from their daily routines and saw something impossible. Massive ships, bigger than mountains, hung in the atmosphere like dark clouds that refused to move. There were hundreds of them spread across every continent. Blocking out the sun, Admiral Minho Kong stood in the command center of Earth's orbital defense station. Staring at the screens that showed vessel after vessel appearing from nowhere, his hands gripped the edge of the console. In his 30 years of military service, he had never seen anything like this. The ships were alien. They were real. And they were everywhere. Dr. Unipark ran through the corridors of the research facility in Switzerland, her tablet clutching the latest readings. The energy signatures coming from those ships were beyond anything human technology could produce. She burst into the emergency meeting room where scientists from every nation had gathered. Everyone was talking at once, theories flying, panic rising. She knew one thing for certain. These visitors had not come in peace in the military compound in the mountains. General Heian Nam watched the footage of the alien ships with cold, calculating eyes. He had spent his entire career preparing for wars between nations. Now he faced something far worse. An enemy from the stars. He immediately ordered all ground forces to battle stations and began moving troops to defensive positions around major cities. Fighter pilot Jiwoo Lee sat in her cockpit on the runway. Engines warm and ready. Her squadron had been scrambled the moment the ships appeared, but the order to engage had not come. They waited, watching the massive alien vessels hang motionless in the sky. She checked her weapons systems for the 5th time. Everything was ready. She just needed permission to fight. The first communication came 6 hours after the ships arrived. Every screen on Earth, every phone, every display showed the same image. An alien figure, tall and covered in dark armor, stood before a backdrop of stars. Its face was hidden behind a helmet, but its voice was cold and mechanical as it spoke in broken human languages. You are a primitive species. You are weak. The Voltrine Empire claims this world. You submit now, or you die. You have 6 days to decide. The message ended. The ships remained silent. Waiting President Dae Kim called an emergency meeting of the United Earth Council. Representatives from every nation gathered in the secure bunker beneath Geneva. The arguments started immediately. Some wanted to negotiate. Some wanted to surrender. Some wanted to fight. The debate raged for 14 hours straight. Admiral Kang presented the military options. They were not good. Earth had weapons designed for wars between humans, not aliens, with technology centuries ahead. Their fleet numbered 200 ships, most designed for patrol duty around Mars and the outer colonies. Against 300 alien warships, the odds were terrible. Dr. Park stood and spoke with quiet intensity. Her team had analyzed the alien ships during the past hours. The vessels used energy shields and plasma weapons, both technologies Earth had only theorized about. But she noted something interesting. The aliens had never scanned Earth properly. They had simply arrived and assumed dominance. They did not know what humanity was truly capable of. General Nam slammed his fist on the table. He refused to consider surrender. Every instinct told him these aliens would not honor any agreement. They were conquerors. They would take everything and leave humanity as slaves or corpses. Better to fight and die free than live in chains. The vote came down to a single question. Would Earth submit or resist? President Kim looked around the room at the faces of men and women who held the future of humanity in their hands. Then he stood and addressed them all. They've given us 6 days. We need only 1. The decision was made. Earth would fight. The military went into action immediately. Admiral Kang activated protocols that had been theoretical exercises until now. Hidden bases across the planet began powering up weapon systems that few people knew existed. Orbital platforms that appeared to be simple satellites revealed their true purpose as weapons of war. Dr. Park and her team worked without sleep, converting experimental research into combat-ready systems. The quantum weapons they had been developing for theoretical alien contact were pushed into emergency production. Factories around the world retooled overnight. building ammunition and weapons based on designs that had never been tested. General Nam positioned troops around every major city and military installation. He prepared for ground invasion, for orbital bombardment, for every nightmare scenario his mind could imagine. He also prepared something the aliens would not expect. Hidden in deep underground bunkers, humanity's most devastating weapons waited for the order to launch. Ji Wu Li and thousands of other pilots trained for combat against an enemy they had never faced. Simulators ran constantly, generating scenarios based on the limited data they had on alien tactics. She practiced attack runs against the massive ships, learning their weak points, memorizing their positions. The world held its breath. People huddled in their homes, watching the dark ships in the sky, wondering if these would be their last days. Some prayed. Some rioted. Some simply waited to see what would come. 3 days passed. The aliens remained silent. Humanity continued preparing. Then, on the morning of the 4th day, the city of Souls simply vanished in a column of fire. The orbital strike came without warning. One moment, 12 million people were going about their morning routines. The next moment, there was only a crater 20 kilometers wide, glowing with heat that could be seen from space. 4.3 million people died in seconds. The alien message was clear. Submit now, but something unexpected happened. Humanity did not break. The horror of Soul did not bring surrender. Instead, it brought rage. Pure, cold, unstoppable rage. Admiral Kang received the authorization he had been waiting for. Protocol Scorched Sky was now active. Every military commander on Earth got the same order. Show them what humanity really means. The waiting was over. The real war was about to begin. The Voltrine fleet commanders watched the planet below with satisfaction. The destruction of the human city had been efficient and spectacular. They expected the surrender message within hours. This was how it always worked. Show overwhelming force, destroy one population center, accept submission. They had done this 47 times before across the galaxy. Humans would be no different, but the surrender never came. Instead, something strange happened. Every human military vessel in orbit suddenly went dark. Power signatures dropped to 0. Communication ceased. To the Voltrine sensors, it looked like the entire human fleet had suffered. Catastrophic system failures. The Voltrine commander smiled beneath his helmet. The primitives could not even maintain their ships under stress. He ordered the fleet to descend to lower orbit. They would begin landing troops on the planet's surface. This conquest was already over. Admiral Kang watched the alien ships moving into position exactly as he had predicted. The power-down order had been risky, but it worked. The aliens thought Earth's fleet was crippled and helpless. They were moving into the trap with confidence. He checked the countdown. 2 minutes until the attack began. Around him, the command center was silent. Every person knew their role. Every weapon was aimed and ready. This would be humanity's only chance to strike first. They could not afford to miss. Dr. Park monitored the systems from her station. The quantum railguns hidden in Earth's magnetic field were fully charged. The orbital platforms concealed behind the moon were active. The automated defense grid around Mars was online, and targeting solutions were locked. Everything humanity had built in secret over the past decades was about to be revealed. She thought about the people of Seoul. Her sister had lived there. Had lived? Past tense now. The rage that filled her was cold and focused. She would make these aliens regret ever coming to Earth. General Name stood in the command bunker, surrounded by tactical displays. His ground forces were positioned and ready, but the first strike would come from above. He watched the timer count down, his face showing no emotion. The aliens had made a terrible mistake. They had shown humanity what total war looked like. Now humanity would return the lesson. The countdown reached 0. Ji Wu Li's fighter launched from the hidden base beneath Antarctic ice. Around her, 5,000 other fighters roared into the sky from bases the aliens had never detected. Installations in the Sahara Desert opened up, revealing launch bays carved into the rock. Platforms rose from the Pacific Ocean. Shedding their camouflage is simple. Research vessels, the sky filled with human fighters. The first volley came from the quantum railguns. Invisible until they struck, the projectiles moved at impossible speeds. They punched through the alien shields like they were paper. 3 Voltrine destroyers exploded before their crews, even knew they were under attack. The orbital platforms behind the moon fired next. Massive kinetic slugs, accelerated to a fraction of light speed, crossed the distance in seconds. They slammed into the alien capital ships with the force of nuclear weapons. Shields that could deflect plasma and energy beams did nothing against solid metal moving at relativistic speeds. Admiral Kong's fleet powered up simultaneously, weapons hot and targeting systems active. The aliens had moved in close, expecting an easy ground invasion. Instead, they found themselves in a kill box with human warships on all sides. The battle was not a fight. It was a slaughter. The Voltrine had conquered 47 worlds using the same tactics, the same weapons, the same shields. Every species they had faced used energy-based weapons that their shields could deflect. None of them had kinetic weapons. None of them had studied the Voltrine tactics and prepared counters. None of them had been as ruthlessly efficient as humanity. Gi Wu Li flew her fighter through the chaos. Her targeting computer painting hostile after hostile. She fired missiles that tracked and killed with brutal precision. Around her, the alien ships burned. Some tried to flee. Some tried to fight back. All of them died. The alien plasma weapons were devastating when they hit, but human ships were small and fast. They dodged and weaved through the fire, closing distance, hitting weak points that Dr. Park's analysis had identified. For every human ship destroyed, 10 alien vessels fell. The Voltrine flagship, a massive dreadnought that had led the conquest of dozens of worlds, tried to activate its emergency jump drive. Dr. Park had been waiting for this. She triggered the zero-point disruptor, an experimental weapon that had never been tested outside the laboratory. Space itself seemed to tear around the alien flagship. The jump drive collapsed, taking half the ship with it. The dreadnought broke apart, spilling atmosphere and bodies into the void. The Voltrine commander died, never understanding what had killed him. General Nam watched the alien troop carriers falling from the sky. The atmospheric scramblers had worked perfectly. The alien ships, designed for atmospheric entry with their shields active, could not navigate with their systems scrambled. They crashed into oceans, into mountains, into cities that were ready for them. Ground forces surrounded each crash site. The aliens who survived were met with artillery, missiles, and soldiers who showed them no mercy. Seoul was still burning in everyone's mind. For hours after the battle began, it was over. Of the 300 Voltrine warships that had invaded Earth, only 37 remained. They were trying desperately to escape, their formations broken, command structure destroyed. Admiral Kang issued the order that would define humanity's response. No ship leaves this system. No survivor returns to warn their empire. The pursuit began. Human ships, faster and more maneuverable than the alien vessels, hunted down every fleeing enemy. Some aliens fought to the last. Some tried to surrender. It made no difference. The order was absolute. Dr. Park intercepted communications from the surviving alien ships. The messages were panicked, desperate, filled with fear. She heard one transmission clearly. A Voltrine officer screaming into his communicator. They fight like demons. They laugh as they die. What are these humans? She felt no pity. These were the same creatures who had vaporized Seoul without warning. Let them feel fear. Let them die afraid. By the end of the day, only one Voltrine ship remained. Admiral Kang ordered it captured, not destroyed. They needed information. They needed to know where these aliens came from. They needed to know if more were coming. Boarding teams led by General Nam's best soldiers stormed the crippled vessel. The fighting was brutal and close. The aliens were bigger and stronger than humans, but they had never faced an enemy that refused to give up. Human soldiers pressed forward through fire and death, clearing deck by deck. The ship was taken. Its crew was dead. But its computers were intact. Dr. Park and her team downloaded everything. navigation data, communication codes, star charts, fleet positions, and something that made her blood run cold. A designation in the alien database, Conquest number 48. Minor species, low technology, routine expansion. Earth had been an afterthought to them. A simple conquest. Routine. She brought the data to Admiral Kong and President Kim. They studied it in silence. The Valtrine Empire controlled 47 star systems. Their home world was 47 light-years away, and according to their own records, they had exterminated 6 species that had resisted conquest. President Kim looked at the data and asked the question that would change everything. "What do we do now?" Admiral Kang answered without hesitation. "We make sure they never threaten Earth again." Decision was made. Humanity would take the fight to them. The emergency session of the United Earth Council lasted 3 days. Representatives from every nation debated the most important question in human history. Should they take the war to the aliens, or fortify Earth and wait for the inevitable counterattack? General Nam stood before the assembly and spoke with cold certainty. "They came to our home. They killed millions of our people. If we do nothing, they will return with more ships, more weapons. They will not make the same mistakes twice. We have one advantage right now. They do not know what happened here. We must strike before they learn." Some representatives argued for negotiation. Perhaps the Valtrine Empire could be reasoned with. Treaties made, peace established. Admiral Kang crushed that hope with a single piece of data. He displayed the alien records on the massive screens in the chamber. These are the 6 species the Valtrine encountered that refused to surrender. They are all extinct. Not conquered. Not enslaved. Extinct. Every man, woman, and child exterminated. That is what awaits us if we show weakness. Dr. Park presented her analysis of the alien technology. The Valtrine had slipspace drives that could cross vast distances. Their homeworld was 47 light-years away, normally an impossible distance. But with the captured navigation data and the slipspace drives from the destroyed ships, humanity could reach them. She had already begun work on adapting the technology to human vessels. The debate continued. But the outcome was inevitable. Earth had been attacked. Millions had died. Waiting for another attack was not an option. The vote came down, and the decision was final. Humanity would carry the war to the Valtrine Empire. President Kim addressed the world. "We did not choose this war. It was brought to us, but we will finish it. We will show the galaxy that humanity cannot be conquered, cannot be intimidated, cannot be destroyed. We will take our fight to those who threatened our home, and we will show them no mercy." The reaction was immediate and overwhelming. Every nation mobilized. Every resource was dedicated to the war effort. Shipyards that had built cargo vessels now constructed warships. Factories that had produced civilian goods now made weapons and ammunition. The entire planet became a war machine. Admiral Kong was given command of the first expeditionary fleet. His orders were simple and brutal. Travel to the Valtrine home system. Destroy their military capacity. Eliminate their ability to threaten Earth by any means necessary. Dr. Park was appointed Chief Science Officer of the fleet. She worked 20-hour days, leading teams of scientists and adapting alien technology. The slipspace drives were the priority. Humanity needed to move their fleet across 47 light-years. She made it happen in 60 days. But she did not stop there. Using the alien computer systems, she developed what her team called the Ragnarok virus. It was a program designed to infiltrate and destroy Valtrine networks. She built it from their own code, a poison pill that would tear their systems apart from the inside. It was ready for deployment. General Nam prepared the ground forces. 200,000 soldiers trained for combat in alien environments. They practiced boarding actions on captured Valtrine ships. They learned how to fight in zero gravity, how to breach alien armor, how to kill efficiently in close quarters. Every soldier was a volunteer. Every one of them had lost someone in Seoul. Giwoo Lee and thousands of other pilots underwent intense training. The combat data from the Earth battle was analyzed endlessly. Simulators ran scenarios against Voltrine tactics. New fighter designs were built, incorporating lessons learned in alien technology. The pilots trained until they could fly and fight in their sleep. Young pilots like Narration and Jin Wuan joined the squadrons. They had been civilians before the invasion. Now they were warriors, driven by rage and purpose. They learned quickly. They had to. The fleet would launch soon. Intelligence officer Su Yang-han worked in the captured alien databases, learning everything about the Voltrine Empire. She mapped their systems, identified their military bases, located their shipyards. She built a complete picture of the enemy. And she found their weaknesses. The fleet came together. 500 warships, built in record time using human and captured alien technology. 12,000 fighters, fast and deadly. Supply ships, medical vessels, troop carriers. Everything needed for an extended campaign across the stars. On the day of departure, President Kim stood on the bridge of the flagship with Admiral Kang. The entire fleet was assembled in Earth orbit. A massive armada unlike anything humanity had ever created. Millions watched from the planet below. Admiral Kang opened a communication channel to every ship in the fleet. His voice was calm and hard. "We are about to travel farther from home than any human has ever gone. We go to make war on an empire that has conquered 47 worlds." They came to Earth expecting an easy victory. They found death instead. "Now we bring that death to them." He paused, looking at the faces of the crew around him. Men and women who had volunteered to travel into the unknown, to fight an enemy on their own ground, knowing many would not return. The Voltrine showed us what they are. Conquerors without mercy. Killers without conscience. They believed we would submit or die. They were wrong. We are humanity. We do not submit. We do not surrender. And we do not forget. The fleet activated their slip space drives. Space itself seemed to tear open before them, revealing corridors of light that stretched across impossible distances. One by one, the ships entered the slip space and disappeared, before the last ship jumped. Admiral Kang sent a message on all Voltrine communication frequencies. It was broadcast across their entire empire, to every colony, every ship, every station. The message was simple and direct. "You came to conquer Earth. Now Earth comes for you. You showed us no mercy. Expect none in return." The fleet vanished into slip space, beginning the long journey to Voltrine space. The trip would take 6 months, traveling through dimensions humans barely understood. Using technology they had captured from their enemies, on Earth, people watched the sky where the fleet had been. Some prayed for the soldiers. Some mourned them already. Some simply waited to see what would happen when humanity's rage reached the alien homeworld. Dr. Park sat in her quarters on the flagship, reviewing the data one more time. The Voltrine Empire was vast and powerful. They had resources, weapons, and experience that humanity lacked. But they had made one critical mistake. They had attacked Earth, expecting weakness. They had found strength. They had expected submission. They had found defiance. And now they would learn the most important lesson of all. Humanity was not prey. Humanity was the hunter, and the hunt had begun. The fleet traveled through slip space in silence, covering distances that should have been impossible. Every day brought them closer to the enemy. Every day the crews prepared for the battle to come. 6 months passed. The fleet emerged at the edge of Voltrine space, near a mining colony called Voltrix Secundus. Long-range sensors detected 73 alien warships defending the colony. Station defenses. Patrol groups. A significant military presence. Admiral Kang gave no warning. No communication. No chance to surrender. The fleet attacked immediately, weapons hot, showing the Voltrine the same mercy they had shown Sol. The battle lasted 40 minutes. When it was over, every Voltrine ship was destroyed. The station was boarded. General Nam's troops swept through the corridors, meeting resistance with overwhelming force. The message was broadcast across Voltrine space. The humans had arrived, and they were coming for blood. The destruction of Valtrix Secundus sent shockwaves through the Veltrine Empire. For the first time in their 3,000-year history, they faced an enemy that had come to their territory. An enemy that struck without warning and showed no mercy. The Valtrine High Command issued emergency orders. Every fleet was recalled to defend the home system. Defense stations that had not been activated in centuries were brought online. Planetary shields were reinforced. The mighty empire prepared for war on its own ground. Admiral Kung led the human fleet through Voltrine space like a knife through flesh. Every colony they encountered was hit hard and fast. Military installations were destroyed. Shipyards were reduced to debris. Supply depots were vaporized. The message was clear. This was not conquest. This was punishment. Jiwuli led her fighter wing in attack after attack. The combat was brutal and constant. The Voltrine fought desperately to defend their territory, but they were unprepared for the ferocity of the human assault. Every battle ended the same way. Valtrine ships burning, human forces advancing. Young pilots like Nari Song and Jin Wu proved themselves in combat. They flew with a courage born of rage, striking deep into enemy formations, targeting command ships and supply vessels. The Valtrine called them demons in their communications. The humans called them heroes. Dr. Park worked without rest, adapting and improving weapon systems. Every captured Valtrine ship provided new technology to study, new weaknesses to exploit. She upgraded the fleet's capabilities after every battle, turning lessons learned into tactical advantages. The Ragnarok virus waited in her systems, ready for deployment when the time was right. Intelligence officer Suyang Han intercepted every Voltrine communication. She tracked their fleet movements, identified their defensive positions, and predicted their strategies. Her analysis was perfect. She knew where the enemy would be before they did. Admiral Kang trusted her completely. General Nam prepared for the final assault. The target was Voltrix Prime, the Valtrine homeworld. It was the heart of their empire, protected by defenses that had never been tested in real combat. 800 defense platforms surrounded the planet. 400 warships patrolled the system. Planetary shields strong enough to withstand. Asteroid impacts covered the entire surface. The human fleet emerged from slipspace at the edge of the Voltrix system. Alarms blared across every Voltrine vessel. The humans had arrived. The final battle was beginning. Admiral Kong studied the tactical display. The Voltrine defenses were impressive. Under normal circumstances, attacking such a fortified position would be suicide. But these were not normal circumstances. He had weapons the Voltrine had never encountered. He had soldiers who had learned to fight without fear. And he had a rage that burned cold and focused. He opened communications to the fleet. "We did not come here to conquer. We came here to teach a lesson. The Valtrine invaded Earth. They killed our people. They believed we were weak. Today, we show them the price of that mistake. All ships, engage." The battle began with Dr. Park's masterpiece. The Ragnarok virus was transmitted on captured Veltrine communication codes. It infiltrated their defense network in seconds, spreading through every system connected to their military grid. Defense platforms began firing on each other. Targeting systems failed. Shield generators overloaded. Chaos erupted across the Valtrine lines. The second wave was pure physics. Admiral Kong had spent weeks positioning asteroids in slipspace corridors. Now they emerged, accelerated to near light speed. Aimed at precise coordinates around Valtrix Prime, the kinetic bombardment began. Massive rocks slammed into the planetary shields with the force of nuclear weapons. The shields held, but barely. Cracks appeared in the energy barriers. Power stations on the surface overloaded, trying to maintain the defense. And the asteroids kept coming. Ji Woo Lee led the third wave. Fighter wings numbering in the thousands poured through the gaps in the shields. The Voltrine defense fleet moved to intercept, but their systems were still compromised by the virus. They fired wildly, hitting their own ships as often as human targets. The human fighters were precise and deadly. They targeted the shield generators on the surface. the massive installations that kept the planetary defenses active. Missiles streaked down through the atmosphere. Explosions lit up the alien sky. One by one, the generators failed. General Nam watched from the command ship as the planetary shields collapsed. That was his signal. Dropships launched from the fleet carrying 200,000 soldiers toward the surface. They had one objective: find the High Command. Capture the leaders who had ordered the invasion of Earth. The landing was contested every meter. Voltrine ground forces, fighting for their homeworld, met the humans with everything they had. But General Nam had trained his soldiers for exactly this scenario. They fought with a ruthlessness that shocked even the warlike Voltrine. Human forces pushed toward the capital city, a massive metropolis that had stood for thousands of years. They faced artillery, armored vehicles, elite troops. It did not matter. The humans advanced through fire and death, unstoppable in their purpose. Admiral Kang directed the fleet battle from his command chair. The Voltrine warships fought desperately, but they were outmatched. Human vessels, smaller and faster, tore through their formations. The quantum railguns that had destroyed the invasion fleet at Earth proved just as effective here. Voltrine ships died by the dozens. Su Young Han tracked the Voltrine High Command through intercepted communications. They were in a bunker beneath the capital, protected by layers of armor and defensive systems. She transmitted the coordinates to General Nam. He smiled coldly and redirected his assault. The fighting in the capital was brutal. Voltrine soldiers defended every building, every street. Human troops cleared them out with grenades, fire, and steel. Civilians fled or hid. The humans ignored them, focused only on the military targets. This was not genocide. This was justice. 72 hours after the battle began, General Nam stood at the entrance to the High Command bunker. His troops had fought through hell to reach this point. Hundreds of soldiers had died taking the city, but they had succeeded. Explosive charges blew the bunker doors. Human soldiers poured into the depths, clearing room after room. The Voltrine Elite Guard fought to the last, defending their leaders with suicidal courage. They all died. In the deepest chamber, General Nam found what he was looking for. The Voltrine High Chancellor and his command council, the same leaders who had ordered the invasion of Earth, who had destroyed Sol without warning, sat in their command center, surrounded by dead guards. The High Chancellor was a massive creature. Towering over the humans even while seated, he stared at General Nam with eyes that held no fear, only hatred. He spoke in broken human language. You have one battle, not war. Empire vast. We'll crush you. We'll destroy Earth. We'll erase humans from stars. General Nam walked forward until he stood directly before the alien leader. When he spoke, his voice was quiet and cold. Your empire sent 300 ships to conquer Earth. We destroyed them all. Your empire controls 47 systems. We crossed space to reach you here. Your empire has existed for 3,000 years. Today it ends. He gestured to his soldiers. Take them. All of them. They will face justice for what they did. The High Chancellor and his council were dragged from their seats and placed in chains. For the first time in Voltrine history, their leaders were prisoners. The empire that had conquered 47 worlds had been broken by the world they thought would be. Number 40-8. Outside, the battle was winding down. The Voltrine defense fleet was destroyed. The orbital platforms were silent wreckage. The planetary shields were gone. Voltrix Prime was defenseless. Admiral Kang received General Nam's report. The High Command was captured. The capital was secured. The mission was complete. He stood and walked to the viewport, looking down at the alien world below. Cities burned from the fighting. Ships drifted as debris in orbit. The mighty Voltrine Empire had been brought to its knees in 3 days. Dr. Park joined him at the viewport. She looked at the destruction they had wrought and felt nothing but cold satisfaction. What now? She asked. Admiral Kang activated the communication system. His message was broadcast across the entire Voltrine Empire, to every colony, every ship, every station that remained. General Nam stood in the ruined command center with the captured High Chancellor before him. The transmission showed everything. The defeated leaders in chains. The human soldiers standing victorious. The price of threatening humanity. This is Admiral Minho Kong of Earth. Your leaders came to our world seeking conquest. They found only death. Your empire attacked us without provocation. We have responded without mercy. Let this be a lesson to all who would threaten humanity. We seek peace. But if you bring war to our door, we will bring total destruction to yours. The transmission ended. The galaxy watched in silence. The Voltrine Empire collapsed within months. Without their high command, without their home fleet, without the fear that had kept their conquests in line, everything fell apart. Tributary worlds declared independence. Colonies refused to send resources. Military commanders fought each other for control. The empire that had lasted 3,000 years died in less than a year. Admiral Mal Kong stood in the ruins of the Voltrine Imperial Palace and watched it burn. Around him, human soldiers maintained order in a city that had descended into chaos. The question everyone was asking was simple. What would humanity do now? General Nam had a clear answer. Take control. The Voltrine had conquered 47 worlds. Those worlds needed leadership. Humanity had the military power to claim them all. They could build an empire greater than the Voltrine had ever dreamed. They had earned it through blood and victory, but Dr. Park disagreed strongly. She stood in the council meeting aboard the flagship and argued against expansion with fierce passion. We came here to defend our home, not to become conquerors. If we take these worlds by force, we become exactly what we destroyed. We become the Voltrine. President Kim had traveled from Earth to join the debate. The decision was too important to make without him. He listened to both sides, to the arguments for empire and the arguments for restraint. The weight of the choice showed on his face. Admiral Kang surprised everyone by siding with Dr. Park. General Nam is right that we have the power to take control. But Dr. Park is right that we should not. We did not fight this war to build an empire. We fought because we were attacked. If we change our purpose now, we dishonor everyone who died at Seoul. The debate continued for days. Meanwhile, something unexpected happened. Representatives from other species began arriving at Veltrix Prime, not as conquerors or invaders, but as diplomats. They came from the Thanish Collective, from the Orium Federation. From a dozen other powers across the galaxy, they came because they had watched humanity destroy the Voltrine Empire in less than a year. They came because they were afraid, and they came because they wanted to know what humanity would do next. The first ambassador to arrive was from a species called the Thanish. Their representative, a small being with silver skin, stood before Admiral Kang and spoke carefully. For centuries, the Voltrine threatened our borders. We paid tribute to keep them away. Now you have done what we could not. You have defeated them. The galaxy wants to know. Will you take their place? Admiral Kang looked at the ambassador for a long moment before answering. No, we will not become the new Voltrine. Earth does not seek empire. We seek only to be left in peace. Justice, Admiral Kang replied simply. They attacked our home. We made sure they could never do it again. That is all. Word spread quickly. Humanity had the power to conquer, but chose not to. This made them either incredibly wise or incredibly foolish. The galaxy was not sure which President Kim worked with the other. Ambassadors to establish order in the former Voltrine territories. A tribunal was set up to prosecute war crimes. The Voltrine leaders who had ordered the invasion of Earth were tried and convicted. But the trials were fair, with evidence and witnesses. This was justice, not revenge. Many in the human fleet disagreed with this approach. They had lost friends and comrades in the fighting. They wanted blood, not trials. General Nam was among them, though he followed his orders without complaint. Dr. Park helped compile the evidence against the Voltrine leadership. The databases they had captured contained records of everything. The invasion plans. The orders to destroy Seoul. The records of 6 species exterminated for resisting. All of it was presented at the trials. The galaxy watched the proceedings with fascination. Most species had never seen war crimes prosecuted fairly. Usually, the victors simply executed the defeated leaders. But humanity insisted on proper trials, on evidence and procedure. It was strange and unexpected. Giwu Li returned to Earth with her squadron after 6 months. The fighting was over. The Valtrine military had surrendered or scattered. There was no one left to fight. She landed at the base she had launched from, found the world had changed. People treated the returning soldiers like heroes. Parades were held. Monuments were built. But Jiwoo felt empty. She had killed hundreds, maybe thousands of enemy fighters. She had watched friends die. The victory felt hollow somehow. She visited the memorial at Seoul, where millions of names were carved into black stone. Her parents' names were there. She stood in the rain and cried for the first time since the invasion. The cost of the war was calculated carefully. Earth had lost 4.3 million civilians in Seoul, another 38,000 military personnel had died in the fighting. The number was painful but small compared to the enemy losses. The Voltrine had lost approximately 300 million people. Most of them military, but many civilians caught in the fighting. Dr. Park looked at the numbers and felt sick. The disparity was enormous. Humanity had won decisively, brutally, overwhelmingly. Admiral Kong struggled with the same thoughts. In a quiet conversation with Jiwoo Li, he admitted his doubts. "We proved we are the deadliest species in the galaxy. We proved that when pushed, we will fight with a fury that terrifies others. But I am not sure that is something to be proud of." We understood. We did what we had to do. They came to conquer us. We made sure they could not. If that makes us monsters, so be it. Better to be living monsters than dead innocents. The debate about humanity's future raged on Earth. Some, like General Nam, argued that military strength was the only language the galaxy understood. They should build more ships, more weapons, maintain their military dominance. Others argued for peace and cooperation, using their victory to build alliances instead of fear. President Kim made the final decision. He announced the Terran Accord, a set of principles that would guide humanity's interaction with the galaxy. The core rules were simple. Humanity would not seek empire. Humanity would defend its territory absolutely. Any species that attacked human space would face total war. Any species that sought peace would find willing partners. The galaxy reacted with mixed feelings. Some saw it as weakness. Humanity had the power to dominate but chose not to use it. Others saw it as wisdom. A species that could destroy the Voltrine Empire was not one to provoke, even if they claimed to seek peace. 10 years passed. The galaxy adapted to the new reality. Earth became a hub for trade and diplomacy, not through conquest, but through choice. The Voltrine territories reorganized into independent systems. Some prospered, some struggled, but none were conquered. Admiral Kang retired from military service. He spent his time teaching at the Naval Academy, training the next generation of officers. He always told them the same thing. War is not glorious. It is brutal and terrible. But sometimes it is necessary. The key is knowing when to fight and when to seek peace. Dr. Park continued her research, but now focused on peaceful applications of the technology captured from the Valtrine. Her quantum engines allowed human ships to travel the galaxy. Her discoveries advanced science and medicine. The weapons she had built gathered dust in storage facilities, hopefully never to be used again. General Nam remained in active service, commanding Earth's defense forces. He never stopped preparing for the next war. He believed it was inevitable. Peace is temporary, he would say. We must always be ready. Jiwoo Li became an instructor, teaching young pilots how to fly and fight. She told them stories of the Valtrine War, of the battles in orbit and deep space, but she always ended with a warning. We were forced to become warriors. We did not choose it. Remember that. Never start a war, but always be ready to finish one. The memorial at Seoul became a place of pilgrimage. People came from all over Earth to see the names of the dead, to remember what was lost. A simple phrase was carved at the entrance. They came for conquest. They found only our resolve. On the 10th anniversary of the invasion, President Kim gave a speech at the memorial. He spoke to a crowd of millions, both in person and watching across the world. 10 years ago, an empire came to destroy us. They saw us as weak, as primitive, as easy prey. They learned the truth too late. Humanity is not weak. We are not primitive, and we are never easy prey. We did not choose to become warriors. We were forced to, but we chose to remain human. We chose justice over revenge. We chose peace over empire. That is what makes us different. That is what makes us humanity. The crowd stood in silence, remembering the dead, honoring the survivors, understanding the lesson that had been written in blood across the stars in distant parts of the galaxy. Other species watched and learned. The phrase became common in diplomatic circles. Do not provoke the humans. They seek peace, but if you bring war to them, they will show you what their species truly means. Earth's children grew up learning the history of the Veltrine War. They learned about the invasion, the battle, the pursuit across the stars. They learned about mercy and justice, about restraint and fury. They learned two simple lessons that would define humanity's place in the galaxy. Never start a war. Always finish one. And somewhere in space, on a dead world that had once been Valtrix Prime, a monument stood, placed there by humanity, written in every known language. A warning and a promise to the galaxy.